How to Plan a Protest by Wiki How, adapted by News Ella staff on 5/18/18. Image 1. High school students protest during a rally calling for anti-gun laws on Friday, April 20th, 2018 in Washington Square Park, New York. Protests were held across the country that day on the 19th anniversary of the Columbine High School shooting. Photo by AP Babito Matthews. When you feel strongly about an issue and you just can't stay silent, protesting is a positive way to make your voice heard. A protest is when people gather together to speak out against a wrongdoing. Gathering with others this way is a basic right. It is also a powerful way to bring about change. Part 1. Organizing the protest. Set a goal. Protests can spread awareness about an issue and put pressure on people in power. Think about what you hope your protest will do and who your audience is. You're more likely to succeed if you set a goal. For example, let's say you have learned that chickens are treated badly on a local farm. You want people to stop buying the farm's eggs. In this case, your audience is the public. In other cases, you might be protesting a war or a law. Then your audience is political leaders. Your goal is to show them that people are upset and are demanding change. Choose a location. Find a location that is practical, convenient, or meaningful. It can be the sidewalk in front of a business, a street corner, a government building, or a park. For your protest to be legal, the site must be a public place. Choose a time. You will want to choose the right time to stage your protest. The right time depends on who and what you are protesting. For example, if you're protesting a company, you'll want to have the protest when the director is there. Therefore, the protest should be during business hours. If your goal is to gather as many people as possible, you might want to protest on a weekend because more people will be available to join. Check with your city officials about whether you need permission to protest. This official permission is called a permit. Each city has its own laws about how many people can protest and where they can gather. Some permits also set limits. They may say how many people can gather, how much noise you can make, and where protesters can go. Plan the order of events. It's important to have an agenda for the protest. Do some research on protests that have worked in the past and come up with a plan. You can have community leaders introduce the protest and make speeches about your issue. You may want someone to lead a protest chants or have a band to play protest music. You can also plan a march from one place to another. Marching is a classic form of protesting. Publicize the protest. It is important to share the details of your protest to make sure it gets as much attention as possible. Post the details on social media. Make flyers about the protest and put them up around town. You may also want to call local newspapers and radio stations. Ask them to publish information about the protest and promote it on the air. Many more people will learn about your protest that way. Part 2. Getting prepared to protest. Bring protest materials. Make posters and flyers to help spread your message. You should put the name of your group and contact information on your protest materials. It will let people know how to find out more information when the protest is over. Wear practical clothing. Dress comfortably since you might be standing or walking for several hours. Wear layered clothing and comfortable shoes. Bring emergency supplies. Pack a backpack with a few supplies you might need. Bottled water and food are good to have on hand if the protest is going to last a long time. If you have a protest permit, you should pack that as well. You may also want to bring along a small first aid kit. Know the rules and your rights. No matter what you are protesting, some people will always strongly disagree with you. There may be even another group of protesters on the opposite side of the issue. At larger protests, police may be there to make sure things don't get out of hand. Most protests are safe, but it is a good idea to stay alert just in case. Make sure you know your rights as a protester. Follow these rules set by the protest permit and listen if the police provide any new instructions. Part 3: Protesting effectively and safely. Be respectful. A protest can be a very effective way to make your voice heard and bring about change. However, being disrespectful to those you are protesting against can actually hurt your case. Be polite during your protest. Don't harm property and make sure to avoid any violence. You may consider doing something that qualifies as civil disobedience during your protest. Civil disobedience is breaking a law peacefully for a cause. During the civil rights movement, for example, African Americans sat at lunch counters that were for only white customers. They were arrested for doing so. This made a powerful statement about inequality. Civil disobedience is a courageous way to make a point, but keep in mind that you can be arrested for this form of protest. Evaluate your protest. After the protest is over, figure out if it was effective. Decide what worked and what didn't. Think about whether you reached your goal and what you should do differently next time. No matter what, be proud that you stayed true to your beliefs and stood up for your right to be heard. Even if your protest didn't bring about change, speaking up is a step in the right direction. One protest probably won't change everything, but there are many other things you can do to accomplish your goal. Start a letter writing campaign, write a blog to voice your opinions, or lead a boycott. A boycott is when a group of people protest by refusing to buy from a business. There are many more actions you can take to spread awareness